So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to lecture number 5 of history in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay 2026. Now through this lecture series, we will revise our entire syllabus for UPSC Prelims 2026 examination. What we'll do is, we will cover all the current affairs, subject-wise, but not just current affairs. The associated static topics would also be covered along with current affairs. As you all know, those static topics which have some connection with current affairs have a very high probability of featuring in your prelims examination, right? Therefore, we will not only cover all the current affairs subject-wise in proper chronology, we'll also cover the associated static topics which will have a very high probability of featuring in your prelims exam. So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. It's very important because if you will do it now, well, you just have to spend 1 hour of your day. That's it. Just 1 hour of your day from now till your prelims examination and your revision would be complete. No need to wait for your revision till February, March, April. No, begin your revision now. And you just have to spend 1 hour daily. And you will cover not just current affairs, but some associated static topics as well. All right? Okay. Now, to really get the benefit of this lecture series, what you have to do is, you have to follow these 4 steps. Well, be consistent and regular with the lecture series, all the lectures. Don't keep lectures pending, okay? Be consistent and regular. This is step number 1. But step number 2 is memorization from notes. Along with these lectures, we will also give you notes. As soon as you finish the lecture, memorize whatever you have studied from the notes. Plus, those notes would contain some extra information also. Memorize that. But memorization is important. Then, step number 3, you will naturally have some doubts. Well, we'll be enrolling you in our WhatsApp groups. You can ask your doubts over there. The group is active 24/7. Make sure that you ask your doubts whenever they occur to you. And in the end, step number 4. Along with this lecture series, you are also getting a test series. An exhaustive list of tests would be there. Be regular with those tests. Everyone says that tests are the most important component, critical component of your preparation, especially for prelims. Please do not keep tests pending. Be regular and consistent with them. Give them on time. Okay, so follow these 4 steps. These are very important. Now, as far as the lectures are concerned, step number 1, well, you can access the lectures on YouTube every day at 9 p.m. But for notes, for WhatsApp, and for tests, you would have to register on our app or on our website. The links to both are given in the comment section below. Okay, and along with those comments, well, there is also a number. Well, if you have any difficulty with respect to registration for this lecture series, you just have to WhatsApp us on that number. That would be all, and we will take it forward from there. Okay, all right, enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. And our today's topic of discussion is Genius of Emperor Ashok. Now, the reason why we are discussing Mauryan Emperor Ashok was because last year in December, well, Archaeological Survey of India basically excavated an 80-pillar hall, okay, that belongs to Mauryan period. Now, many excavations are being done over there, and the objective is of Archaeological Survey of India to make, well, first of all, Mauryan period popular, then to make it a big tourism site, basically those people who want to know about Mauryans. So the idea is that's why excavations are being done at war footing. Now, because of this discovery, Mauryan period is highlighted. We will have to discuss some facts about the most famous Mauryan emperor, and that is Ashok. Now, in this lecture, first we'll talk about this excavation, 80-pillar hall, and then we'll talk about certain facts about Ashok, which we generally forget to cover. Whenever we study history, whenever we study the topic of Mauryan Empire, we basically ignore these facts about Ashoka. Okay, so some special key facts about Ashoka, which have a high probability of featuring in your exams, would be covered in this lecture itself. All right, so let's begin with today's topic of discussion, and that is the genius of Emperor Ashok. So let's begin. So history, lecture number 5, Genius of Emperor Ashok. Now, the reason why we are discussing Mauryan Emperor Ashok is because Mauryan period was highlighted this year. And the reason why it was highlighted was because of the discovery of this 80-pillared hall that was found in Patna. Okay, back then during Mauryan times, it was known as Patli Putra. Right? So this excavation basically establishes that Patliputra was the center of this Mauryan Empire, capital. Okay. Now first let's talk about this 80-pillared hall. Okay. So 80-pillared hall. So Emperor Ashoka's 80-pillared hall at Kumrar near Patna in Bihar represents a key Mauryan architectural marvel uncovered through multiple ASI excavations. Now, the first excavation of this site was done in 1912 to 1915 when only one pillar was discovered. Certain remaining destroyed pillars were discovered, and many spots were discovered. Many pits were discovered where you would have placed your pillars. Okay, so a counting was done and it was decided that this hall must have had 80 pillars. Okay, so first excavation was done during this time. Then another set of excavations were done during 1961 to 65. Okay, much more information was released because of this excavation. But then excavation was stopped. The reason was, if you'll further dig around, then you can destroy groundwater resources that can hamper the nearby population, because it was very near to groundwater resources, natural aquifers. So if you would have dug up the earth more than the second phase, then it could have destroyed the natural ecosystem of aquifers. That is why it was stopped. But then now in 2024, ASI decided, because now we have better technologies as compared to 1961 and 65. So now ASI decided to further excavate the site, get more information so that people have more interest in Mauryan period. India can highlight Mauryan period, okay, and boost tourism in that area. Okay. So buried under soil and sand since 2005 for protection against groundwater damage and safety risks, the site saw ASI resume excavations in December 2024 to re-expose parts of pillared hall, and more information should come out. Now, in the first two excavations, a lot of information was revealed about this pillared hall. What was this pillared hall? Okay, so let's talk about this key information regarding this pillared hall. So key features. First of all, what material was used in this pillared hall? So the pillars were made up of polished sandstone, but the rest of the structure was made of wood. Roof, floor, pillar bases, everything was made up of wood. And that is why only this has survived, because wood decays over time. So the wooden structure, how this hall looked, has not survived. Only the pillars and the pillar holes have survived. Okay, so it was mostly made up of wood, but the sandstone pillar still survives, and it was polished sandstone. Okay, now this polished sandstone was brought from Chunar, which is in Uttar Pradesh. And because sandstone is heavy, so what was used to transport these heavy sandstone pillars from Uttar Pradesh to, well, Patliputra? Well, river routes were used. Okay, riverine channels were used. Okay, and which river route was used? Son Ganga river route. Okay, you should know this if you have studied geography. Well, Ganga and Son meet near Patna. Okay, so Patna lies at the confluence of these two rivers. Son is a peninsular river from Madhya Pradesh, and Ganga is basically, we all know, rises from Uttarakhand, Gangotri. We all know about this. Okay, so Son Ganga river. So this was the source of material. Then this hall was destroyed at one point of time, actively destroyed. That is why we get this image. And how do we know this? Well, thick ash layers indicate destruction by fire. Someone attacked this area and burnt the hall, possibly during Indo-Greek invasion of 2nd century or the later attacks by Huna during the Gupta period and after Gupta period. Okay. Now, what was the purpose of this hall? The hall was constructed, but for what purpose it was used? Well, it is said that this hall was used for Buddhist assembly. As you all know, that there are 4 Buddhist councils that have been conducted. Yes, you should know this, 4 Buddhist councils. I'm going to share a chart, a table about 4 Buddhist councils in your notes, so don't worry. The information would be there regarding 4 Buddhist councils. But you know that 4 Buddhist councils were undertaken, okay? And every Buddhist council was basically patronized by a different king of that generation. Clear? You all know that during the 4th Buddhist council, the Buddhism split into 2 sects, Heenyan, Mahayana, Theravada, Mahayana. Nonetheless, that information will be there in the table. But the third Buddhist council was conducted during the reign of Ashoka, Emperor Ashok, Mauryan Emperor Ashok. And it is said that this third Buddhist council took place in this hall. So that is the significance of this hall. It was a religious place of congregation, and maybe all the expert saints of Buddhism congregated at this place and decided issues related to Buddhism. In fact, during Ashoka also, Buddhism had many sects. through this third Buddhist council of Ashoka, Ashoka tried to bring them together. So third Buddhist council is significant from that aspect as well. All the divisions within Buddhism were dissolved during third Buddhist council, and probably this Buddhist council happened at this hall. Make sense? Okay. Now, oh, sorry, significance. So significance of this. Why is this discovery important? Okay. First of all, historical significance. This site reaffirms Patliputra, Mauryan capital's role as political and cultural hub of Mauryan Empire. Okay. First of all, it basically showcases that this city, this place, was the administrative center. That's why king was here, right? So it was a place of power, seat of power. And then cultural significance also, because Buddhist council happened over here. So historical significance of this site. Then architectural, showcases advanced planning and resource management. Stone had to be brought, wood had to be brought. So all of that during Mauryan period. And why is ASI interested in this? To boost tourism and highlight Mauryan heritage linked to Ashoka's third Buddhist council. All right, make sense? Okay. So that's all you need to know, plus some extra information would be given in your notes with respect to this 80-pillared hall found in Kumrahar, Patna. Okay, that's all you need to know as far as current affairs are concerned. But I told you, we will cover related static topics. Okay, so this related static topic, or the static topic that is related to this particular news, well, is Ashoka the Great. Because it is said that the third Buddhist council happened at this place, happened during the reign of Ashoka. Therefore, we need to discuss some key facts about Ashoka, which generally sometimes are not mentioned in all the notes that you are studying, or even if it is mentioned, you generally ignore it. And UPSC has a tendency of asking questions from that area, which you generally ignore, or which is absent from notes of various coaching institutes or books, okay, famous UPSC books. That's why they stump you every time. That's why you are stumped whenever you see a history related question in prelims. Where did this question come from? Generally, that is the mood. Okay. Nonetheless, we will try to basically discuss those aspects about Ashoka which make him great. The genius of Ashoka. Why is he called great? Okay. Because he did certain things which were not done by the kings of his time or kings that came later also. Kings do not do these things. Okay, kings do not perform these duties. Kings generally are ignorant about these things. The things that Ashoka did, and made it a point that these things were central to his administration. Okay, so these ignored facts, and let me tell you, they are not properly ignored. Many of you must have studied these things, but generally most of you ignore this. Okay, so we are not talking about everything related to Ashoka, just key facts about Ashoka. Okay, all right then. Ashoka the Great. So first of all, we need to know how Ashoka was discovered by historians. Okay, how do we know so much about Ashoka? How was Ashoka discovered? Okay, so discovery part. Part number one. Part number one is that many British archaeologists found so many pillars and rock edicts where inscriptions were written. But the archaeologists couldn't understand what was written. So they had no clue about what was written. They were finding these pillars, these huge pillars, sometimes in Sanchi, sometimes in Delhi. Many places there were these huge, tall, polished sandstone pillars were there, but you were unable to read them. Then James Prinsep deciphered Brahmi script, the script in which most of the messages of Ashoka were written in. When James Prinsep deciphered Brahmi script, he was able to read what was written on those pillars. And when he was able to read what was written on those pillars, sometimes royal orders were also written, and the name of the king was also written. Now, the name of the king that was generally found on these pillars was Devanam Piya, beloved of the gods, or Piyadasi, pleasant to look. Okay, these names were used for the king, and only at one place a name was written. Okay, so James Prinsep and many historians concluded that there was this big king who wrote so many messages on pillars and rocks. Then, well, many written sources were discovered, literary sources were discovered, and they were discovered from Buddhist literature. So Buddhist literature already existed. Okay, for example, huge literary sources like Ashokvadana in Sanskrit, Mahavamsa and Deepvamsa from Sri Lanka in Pali language. They provide extraordinary accounts of this emperor called Ashok, and they give key details about Ashok. And because of these details, we were able to link that this Devanampiya is the same as Ashok here in this literature. And through these rock edicts, through these inscriptions and written literary evidence, we were able to combine the picture and we were able to tell the full story about Ashok. That's how he was discovered. So remember James Princip, remember Ashok Vadana, Mahavamsa, Deepvamsa, which talk in detail about Ashoka. And that's how we were able to make this connection that these pillars and this person who is mentioned in these documents, Ashok Vadana and all, well, he's one and the same person. Okay, that's how they were discovered. Later historians like Vincent Smith built upon these sources to write the first modern biographies of Ashoka. Historians use both the epigraphic evidence, the written evidence on pillars and rocks, from the edicts and the literary accounts from Buddhist texts. Remember, this is Buddhist literature. Because Ashoka converted to Buddhism and played a key role in spreading Buddhism. That's why he has written, Buddhist sources write a lot about him. Because for them, he was their favorite king. Okay, because he was pivotal in spreading Buddhism to other countries outside India as well. Alright. Now, another thing is in Karnataka, a place called Kanaganahalli. Well, over there, they found a portrait of an emperor with his queens. Okay, and it was written Raya Asok. Raya means Raja or king in certain Indian languages. Raya Asok with his queens. So through this, we were able to get the physical picture also, how he looked and all. So these were the sources that were found. Okay, so this is his discovery. Then the thing that sets him apart is Dhamma. Dhamma sets him apart. Basically, what is Dhamma? So in Buddhism, there is Dhamma, which is all the duties that a Buddhist person has to perform. Ashoka gave his own Dhamma, Dhamma, which was inspired from Buddhism, but it was not Buddhist Dhamma. It was a Dhamma for his citizens, like a constitution of sorts, that these are your rights, these are your duties. No rights, duties as a citizen. So his Dhamma was more secular in nature rather than religious. Okay, so Ashokan Dhamma was universal moral code that every citizen should follow, separate from Buddhist Dhamma. It was not related to religion. Okay, now certain things in his Dhamma which he propagated, which he wrote on various pillars, rock edicts everywhere, certain key things about his Dhamma are still followed today. Many modern liberal democracies follow those liberal values which were Ashoka's Dhamma. That's his contribution, and that is why he's called the Great, Ashoka the Great, because nobody was doing this. Okay, the core principles of his Dhamma was moral and ethical conduct. For example, in his Dhamma, moral and ethical conduct was be respectful towards your parents, don't be cruel to animals, don't be cruel to people. Okay, then ahimsa, non-violence was a core theme. Okay, and religious tolerance, because he knew that he is basically ruling a multi-religious society and he can't allow religious riots, which is a thing in India today also. So he gave the principle of religious tolerance, giving charity to holy saints, irrespective of the religion. All of this was written. Then he was the only king who communicated directly with his people. Back then, there was no social media or no television. Most of the people didn't even know how their king looked. Okay, and let alone kings would talk directly to their population. Well, he made it a point that he talks directly to his population. So in different parts of his empire, he erected various pillars and rocks. He wrote on rocks his message to his people. Okay. Plus, he appointed special ministers, Dhamma Mahamatyas. He appointed officials to spread the Dhamma among various social groups, including women. The message was also spread by directly communicating with people through rock edicts and pillar inscriptions. Now, the script used on those writings was majority Brahmi. But Ashoka ruled over northwest India also, Afghanistan also. Over there, people didn't understand Brahmi. Some understood Greek, some Aramaic, Persian language, and Kharoshti, Persian only. So he wrote in these languages also, so that his message is more universal, not in my own language, other languages, other scripts as well. Okay, and he gave this thing. As soon as he saw Kalinga War, we all know the story, Kalinga story. So much destruction in the Kalinga War, he converted to Buddhism. That's the famous story. And from then onwards, he announced that now we will convert from Bheri Ghosh to Dhamma Ghosh. Bheri Ghosh is the sound of war drums. Whenever there was a war, drums would be beaten. So Bheri Ghosh was sound of war drums. Now we would shift from Bheri Ghosh to Dhamma Ghosh. He stopped all conquest wars, okay, and started propagating Dhamma to other countries as well. Sound of righteousness. Clear? And to complement his idea of Dhamma, he also did a lot. He established a welfare state, which is now the case today. Okay? He established social welfare or welfare state, like building hospitals for humans, animals, roadside trees, wells, rest houses, animal protection, laws to curb animal cruelty also. Ashoka also boosted trade via roads like GT Road, a precursor to GT Road and all these things. Basically, he thought himself to be a father and all his subjects were his children. So his rule was a paternal rule. Like a father rules over his kids, similarly he's ruling over his subjects. That was the thing. Remember paternal rule. Okay? Make sense? And then spread of Buddhism. The reason why he is great and he's remembered all over the world is because he took Buddhism, which was only in India and also North India, to other parts of the world. Okay? Emperor Ashok significantly spread Buddhism through missionary activities. Okay? First of all, sending missions. Then he basically erected rock edicts spreading Buddhism, Dhamma. He constructed stupa and basically conducted Buddhist councils. Okay. Now, details about where did he send his emissaries, to which places. In fact, he sent his son and daughter to Sri Lanka. That's why Sri Lanka is Buddhist. Okay. Mahinda and Sanghamitra. And many people were sent to different countries. So different countries he sent missions. Now details about those missions are given in your notes. Details about all these things are given in your notes. So do check that out. All right. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And please do not forget to revise all of what we have discussed from notes. Memorize the notes. It's very important. And then if you have any doubts, ask those doubts. All right then. That would be all from my side, guys. I'll see you next time with another topic in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay. Thank you, everyone.